So greetings, it's Mike from LiveMyAssets.com. I'm here at True Digital Park, actually, in this giant atrium, which is awesome. I'll try and get some sort of panoramic footage, maybe throw that in here. But I want to touch on something that I've heard a lot of other, or watched a lot of other YouTubers talk about, and seen in some, read in some blogs rather, and that's that Thailand doesn't want foreigners here anymore, doesn't want Westerners here anymore. That has not been my experience. It has not been my experience since I started coming here 7 years ago. It has not been my experience in the last 7 days. And here's the reason why I want to make this video, and the examples that I have for that. I needed to go to immigration to do two things. I needed to do a TM-28, which is the reporting to immigration on my permanent residency, which I have now, that I have a 1-year lease on a condo in the province of Bangkok. Before, I had a lease on a condo in the province of Phetchaburi, down in Cha Am, and so therefore I did a TM-28 down there. My motivation for the TM-28 down there was obviously to notify them, but secondarily to get a residency certificate so that I could get my driver's licenses, my Thai driver's licenses, so Thai driver's license for motorbike as well as car. And I did that in a previous video. But in any case, so when I came up here, I knew I needed to do another TM-28. But it also became, it's coming close to my 90 days that I've been in the kingdom. And so you need to do a 90-day report. And you can start that as early as day 75, and basically as late as day 97, and still be within the 90-day sort of window, without having to pay a fine. So my lease on my condo started on February 1st, and that was a Saturday. So on February 4th was day 75 for me, and so I was able to go to immigration, and that would have been the first day that I could do my 90-day report, or my TM-47. So I did that. And what I'm here to tell you is two things. One is that the experience was stellar. I have a video on that I made that you can watch specifically on my experience at Changwatana, which is this giant building that it's not just immigration, it's a giant government complex off of Changwatana Road, which is why they sort of refer to it as Changwatana Immigration. And my experience there was fantastic. It was easy, it was efficient, it was well organized, and the people were pleasant, and I got in and out of there in basically less time than it took me to get there on public transportation. Arguably, it is not in the middle of the city, which is actually kind of nice, because once you sort of get out of the city, then the traffic is, less as it relates to traffic in Bangkok. At the end of the day, it was a very easy BTS and then bus ride. But getting my TM-47 was easy, and the people were great. Additionally, inside of immigration, the queuing system that says, now calling A137, please go to window 9, A138, please go to window 10. All of that is in English, the voice recognition. So, and it was infinitely more recognizable English. It was very clear than the California DMV. And so that was very easy. Then I needed to do a TM-28. Now, arguably, I should have done that on the same day. I should have just walked back to the desk where they give you the forms. You just say, here's the form I want. I should have then filled that out. I should have then gotten a queue slip and then gone back. But I thought to myself, well, it's my 90-day reporting, and I basically told them where I am, and so that will go into the system, so they'll have record of where I am, right? And while that is technically accurate, that is not what that form is for. The 90-day report is to say, here is where I am in 90-day chunks. And I could be traveling, I could be down vacationing somewhere, and if within that 90 days, I need to let them know where I am. And if it happens to be the same address that is registered as my permanent address, which occurs from the TM-28, then I can go inside of the app, and since I've done a 90-day report once physically in person, then my subsequent 90-day reports I can do in the app very easily by myself, and I don't need to have an agency do it or whatever, and it's very simple. So I thought, okay, great. Well, to do that, I need a TM28 that has that address. So I then realized that and made the distinction that the TM47 and the TM28 are basically two completely separate things, while they sort of have collaborating data that exists, you could argue, like in the immigration database. The reality is that they are two separate things and they need to be accomplished separately. So 3 days later, I went back to immigration to do this TM28. Now, to fill out the TM47, you simply fill out your whereabouts and you provide them with that, and they acknowledge it, and then they give you a receipt that they staple into your passport, and you're good to go. You're on your way. The TM28, a lot of the data on the internet is that you will need, and I have done a TM28 before, and I needed two pictures, and I needed a copy of the pages in my passport, which is the photo page with all the information on it. I needed a copy of my departure card, which is basically the half of the TM6 that you get, that you fill out when you come here. I needed a copy of the page that has my entry stamp in it, that also has a handwritten, basically, you need to leave by this date in there. And I needed photocopies of that for my previous TM28. And in theory, I needed, and basically I needed that for this TM28 report that I did. So I go in, and you go to a desk, and you tell them what you are there for. You sort of show them the form you have, and they have a touch screen, and they press one of approximately 9 buttons on this touch screen. It then spits out a piece of paper that gives you your number in the queue based on what you're going to do. And then you go into that section. So section A, section B, section C, and so forth. And your number, 100, 101, 103, 13, 14, 15, that sort of thing. And you sit there and you wait, and there's a screen that has the things. And again, it calls it out in English, and it displays it, and you go up to the window accordingly. So I told the woman, I have a TM28. Now, as I mentioned before, when I was down in Cha'am, I did in fact fill out a TM28. The impetus for that was, yes, to notify them of my permanent residence, but also to get a residency certificate to then go, which you use for many things. My reasoning for it and need for it was to go to land transportation to get my driver's license. She interpreted that as me needing to get a residency certificate rather than just filling out my TM28. So she pushed the button for residency certificate. And I didn't really think anything of it. I thought, okay, well, this is sort of what I did before. And I was D4 in section D, number 4. And I go over there, and there is just 2 sort of sections where you sit down in sort of like cubicles, interface with somebody, which was sort of my experience when we were in Cha'am and the Peshawari immigration thing. But pretty much everything there was a desk / interface with a human one-on-one. It wasn't this sort of, look over a glass thing and present someone with your paperwork, and they do some things, stamp it, and they hand it back to you. There's very little sort of interaction, really. Very few questions are asked. So I sat there. I was D4, and D3 was occurring in front of me. But they were taking some time, obviously, and after about 45 minutes, D3 was finished, and the woman was filling in some paperwork, and they have so much paperwork. She had stacks of paper, and she was leaving. But I saw these women in sort of this D section. They were walking back and forth, and they were smiling, and they were in a very good mood. So I thought, okay, well, this will be great. And, there was a part of me that's like, okay, well, so technically I basically took possession of this new permanent residence on February 1st, because that's when my lease started. Now, arguably, that was a Saturday. And so on that Saturday, I really I could not have gone to immigration. They're not open. So the earliest I could have gone was Monday. I went there on Tuesday to file my 90-day report. And then again, there was no, I suppose technically I was doing within, the 48 hours that you're supposed to do it. But, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll have to pay a 200 baht per day fine, that sort of thing, if they're going to get really technical about it. But, I was going to be honest with them and say, hey, look, I honestly didn't know that I had to do a TM47. If I did a TM47, I didn't realize that I also needed to do a TM28. I now realize that. I'm here to do that. And if they had said, oh, well, this is 3 days late, fine. I pay the fine, and then I would have, moved on my way. So I sat there and I sat there and I sat there, and D3 was the highest one, and it didn't cycle over to D4. And the woman was moving paper back and forth, and then another woman inside of the D section did some paperwork. And so they were all empty now, and they were at their computer, but they didn't sort of, press the button that advances them to like D4. And it hadn't been an hour yet, but it was like 45 minutes. I thought, okay, well. So I stood up, and I walked over, and I said to the woman, I showed her my ticket. I said, so, TM28, here, TM28, basically, I asked her. And she said, she looked at it, and she looked at my ticket, T4. And she reached over, and she almost advanced her, counter thingy by one. But then she looked down, and she saw that I really only had a TM28 and a few pieces of paper. And she said, her English was excellent. She said, what do you need? What do you need, sir? No, sorry, Mr., what do you need? What do you need, Mr.? Something like that. And I said, need file TM28. And she said, not due here. And I said, well, can I do? And she said, no, come with me. So she takes me back over to basically the little queue that never has more than one or two people in it, where you tell the person the form you have, and then they give you this queuing slip. And she said, no, you're in the wrong line. And I thought, okay, well, worst case scenario, I go over there. The person that gave me the ticket simply gave me the wrong one because they were distracted or didn't know what to do. And they'll give me another one, and I'll wait maybe another hour, and then I'll go home. And again, I don't have any plans. I'm like, okay, today I'm going to go to immigration was my thought when I left the condo this morning. So I'll go do that. So she goes over, and she tells one of the women there that hands out these cards, these slips, these queuing slips. In Thai, this is what I'm getting. She says, okay, so, this guy had a TM28. You shouldn't have given him a residency certificate thing. You should have given him this, and he should have waited in this proper line. Which is effectively the same windows, actually, where I ended up was the same windows, the A section. And if you know anything about Changuatana, you know that the A section is basically a giant, really the only thing over that door says 90-day reporting. So for the most part, everyone waiting there is doing their 90-day reporting. So she says, okay, and then she turns over, and they could tell from the receipt, apparently, like which representative pushed the button and gave me that. So they talked to the woman that was from there, and I don't know if they scolded her, but they seemed a little terse in their tone, instructing her that she basically gave me the wrong one. And then, I don't know if they said, and this poor guy's been waiting. No, I don't know if they did that, but they certainly sort of instructed her and gave her a learning moment that she should have, done the right thing. So anyway, so they did that, and the woman, she sort of bowed her head. So anyway, so the other woman said, okay, so she pushes the button on the same ring and gives me a correct receipt, which was A, and it was like A 220 something. And then the other woman said, okay, well, don't worry, this woman will escort you to the proper section. And I said, oh, don't worry, I'm not worried, my pen right. So the woman comes out, and she escorts me over there. And she goes to, in A section, if you've been there, there's basically 4 sort of people at desks, and the top of the desk is about, it's about up here on them. They're sitting down, and it's about here. And then there's a glass section. And for the most part, you just sort of shove your papers in. They do some stuff, they stamp it, and they hand it back. There's very little interaction. To the left of that is a section where you do go in and you sit down, and through shame, you pay a fine if you've basically overstayed or if you've done something incorrectly or whatever. So she walks over to someone who's over there in this cubicle section for the fine, and she pops her head in, and I'm thinking, oh, here it comes. Here's the 2-day delay, and I'm going to have to pay, the delay, and this person's going to take care of my TM28. So I'm thinking, all right, fine. I've got my hand in my pocket, bot ready, and says something, and they say, oh, no. And I look up, and I see that basically there's about 100 people before me in the queue that I'm going to need to wait if I were to go to these other windows. And I think, okay, fine. So then she walks over, and there is this one guy. Oh, and Gracie's actually live on Facebook right now. I just got a notification. And so they walk me over, and they walk over to a desk where it has the little triangle thing that said this window is actually closed right now. And it was closed because there was an IT kid, basically, a guy over there, and he was helping them with the printer, that prints out receipts and things. And he had just finished fixing it. And so there was a gentleman back there, and so she spoke with him and gave him my ticket, which was obviously 100 people. But obviously they conveyed to him, hey, look, this guy's been waiting before. He needs this TM28, all this stuff. And so the guy says, don't worry about it. Don't worry, I take care. I said, great, okay, no problem. So I give him my TM28. I give him my passport. And I give him my copies of all of the pages in my passport. I then am ready to give him a packet of photos that I just had taken also downstairs where I got these copies made. And he looks at he hands me back the papers and he says, no, as far as the photos go. And I think, okay, whatever, that's fine. And so then he flips through my passport and he sees that there is a TM47 90-day report from 2 days ago. And he looks down and the next reporting date is May 5th of this year, 90 days from now, effectively. And he says, look, you're not, come back. I said, I know. I said, I was here and I realized that I did a 90-day report, but I also need to do TM28 because I moved from Phetchaburi to Bangkok. I changed province, changed permanent address, changed permanent residence. And he said, okay. Now, along the way, the facial expressions I was receiving, it almost seemed like they were like, why is this guy bothering with a TM28? And then I told him, I said, look, I know that my landlord already filed TM30, foreigner living in, right? So he says, oh, okay. So he goes through the process of the bottom of the TM28 form. There's two stamps, and then there's a red stamp, which is basically the date and time stamp, if you will, that he fills out. And then he also handwrites in the address of where I am, then folds that and staples it in there. And so he has this, they have this sort of hook thing that they use to take out staples. It's not the one that you would normally see like in the U.S. It's this weird sort of crimper thingy that they use that I've seen. Anyway, so he takes out the staple of my 90-day report. And I think, okay, I hope he's not going to get rid of that. I have to do that all over again. Folds that in fours very cleanly, staples that in. Then he does my TM28, folds that, staples that in, hands it back to me. And I flip through and I say, okay, there's a TM28. Where is 90-day report? And he flips through and he says, 90-day, TM28. And they removed the TM28 that I had from before. And he smiles and he says, all good. And I said, cop, come on, cop. I said, he took care of everything for me. Didn't need to submit the pictures. Didn't need to submit the copies of my passport and that sort of thing for the TM28. Why do I share this incredibly lengthy story? Because my experiences just this week at immigration in Chiang Mai, which is arguably the largest immigration building known to man in Thailand. I'm sure there's other countries that have massive ones. And the customer service was exceptional. They didn't make me wait. I was not disturbed or anything like, oh, come on, you got to make me. I was like, okay, yeah, give me new stuff. I wait. Nope, my pen and I. They were smiling. They were just like, yeah, this is we take care. We take care. The bowing, Then I leave and I go back to get the bus. And the public safety officers, basically, the guys who are keeping track of the safety in the park, the Chatuchak Park, which is right next to the Mochit station, I go through a little walk there. And this guy recognizes me from the previous day. So he comes up to me and he says, oh, there, and he's so he wants to come up to me and he wants to measure his height against mine. And I'm not incredibly tall, right? I'm 6'2". So, okay, I'm not incredibly tall from a U.S. perspective. Let's just say that. I guess I'm incredibly tall from an over here perspective. So he gets up to me and he says, oh, yeah, very tall. And he's telling me that he's like 165 centimeters. And I realized later, because I Googled it and did the conversion, I'm 188 centimeters. And he said, oh, my God, pointing, bigger shoulders, much taller. So then he brings 2 or 3 of his security guard buddies over there, and we take this selfie, right? And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way. This is a public park, and it's a fairly tourist area. There's no way I'm the only tall foreigner guy that he's ever seen. But he was lovely. He was so friendly to me. And this has also been my experience now with 2 security guards on the BTS. today this guy comes up and he shows me his phone. It's playing music. It's playing Santana. And he was so excited to show me that he was playing like American music. Like, he's like, good, you know? And I don't know. I feel as welcome today as I did 7 years ago here in the kingdom. And I just am here to share this with you because I want to give you my experience. It is so 180 degrees out of phase with any data or any information that I have seen, heard, read about, watched from other foreigners saying, oh, Thailand doesn't want foreigners here and they're making it more difficult. I feel blessed to be here. I'm in a foreign country and I'm playing by their rules, but they're not ridiculous rules. I really like it here. And I'm having a really great experience here. And the Thai people have been awesome. And every time I interface with someone that I think might have the potential to make it like uncomfortable, like it might be someone of authority or, oh my God, it's going to be this government agency that's very bureaucratic. No, it dispels my expectations 3,000%. They're incredibly gracious. They're very nice. They make sure that my hands are clean. They're giving me all the... It's just awesome. It's truly awesome. It is the land of smiles, and not necessarily because all of the locals have that. It's because that's what it's generating in me. It's the land of smiles because this is what I walk around with now. So Thailand, I blame you for my happiness, and I'm staying, and you're allowing me to stay, and it's a good gig. It's a really, really good gig. So whether you're coming over here on vacation or you're coming over here to retire, or you're over 50, and you're thinking about a retirement visa, my experience is that it is easy. It is welcoming. It is understandable. It is logical, the bullet points that they have asked of me. Mike, if you come to our country, we would prefer if you have your own insurance policy so you're not leeching off of our social system. Okay, works for me. That sounds like a reasonable expectation. I will come over here with money, my own money to spend. How's that? It just, as a foreigner, we would like you to report your whereabouts in our country while you're here. Okay, and we'll even have an app that you can download to your smartphone for you. Okay. Whereas in the United States, okay, foreigners, we'll make it a pain in the neck for you to get a visa, but it's good for 10 years. And when you come over here, over the next 6 months, once you get here, you can basically go wherever the hell you want. And in fact, if you want to stay here, you can. It's not legal, but if you don't leave at 6 months, we're not going to track you down because we have no clue where you are. So you can overstay your visa. And until we basically find you somehow and kick you out, then you can stay in the United States forever and leech off of our social system. Again, I'm an American. I'm proud to be one. I still think it's the best country in the whole entire world. But I love Thailand, and I love the Thai people. So, if you're swayed to not come to Thailand because of other videos you're watching, I hope this at least provides you with a additional piece of data to consider coming over here and seeing for yourself the experience that you have. Because it might be lousy, but it might not. Don't forget, just because the phrase out there that you may hear most often is, what's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't mean that you can't start printing up t-shirts and use the phrase, what's the best thing that could happen? Because right now, I'm living the best thing that could happen. A year ago, I thought to myself, what's the best thing that could happen? I could retire, have enough money to live on, and move to Thailand and live with Gracie. That would be the best thing that could happen. Well, guess what? Buddha, I blame you for my happiness. I'm living the dream. Because if you're not living the dream, you're doing it wrong. All the best.